I'm standing in Marcus Chen's private elevator, watching him die. His lips are turning blue. The color drains from his face like water circling a drain. His $4,000 Tom Ford suit is soaked with sweat, and his breathing sounds like gravel scraping concrete. The richest man I've ever met, worth $3.2 billion according to the Forbes list taped to his office wall, is collapsing against the mahogany panel, clawing at his chest, and I'm the only one who can save him. But here's the thing. Nobody tells you about desperation. It has a price tag, and I'm about to negotiate mine. Please, he gasps, his hand reaching toward me. My medication. I look at the emergency EpiPen in my hand, the one I pulled from his suit pocket when he started convulsing 30 seconds ago. The one that will stop his anaphylactic shock if I use it in the next 60 seconds. I need you to do something first, I hear myself say. 6 months earlier, I was nobody. Worse than nobody, I was the girl scrubbing toilets in the Chen Tower, Houston's third tallest building. 23 years old with $147,000 in medical debt from my mother's cancer treatment. She died anyway. The debt didn't. I worked the night shift, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., cleaning offices while Houston slept. $12 an hour. No benefits. The kind of invisible you become when you're poor. People look right through you or past you, but never at you. I'd seen Marcus Chen exactly 3 times before the elevator. Always from a distance. Always surrounded by men in suits that cost more than my car. He owned 17 buildings across Texas, a private jet, homes in 4 countries. The kind of wealth that doesn't just buy things, it buys people, silence, power, entire realities. The first time I actually spoke to him was April 19th, 2:47 a.m. I know because I checked my phone right after, hands shaking, wondering if I'd just destroyed my life. I was cleaning the executive floor, 58th, where the air smells different, cleaner somehow, like they filter out poverty at floor 50. The offices up there have real art on the walls, not prints. Espresso machines that cost $12,000. Windows that make Houston look like scattered diamonds. I was emptying his private bathroom trash when I found it. A leather journal, handwritten, and I should have just left it there, should have backed away, but exhaustion makes you stupid. Or maybe I was just tired of being invisible. I opened it. March 3rd, closed the Riverside deal. 340 hours. Father would have called it pedestrian. Nothing I do will ever be enough for a dead man's expectations. March 15th, another charity gala. Another room of people who want my money but not my company. Chen Technologies donated $2 tonight. I felt nothing. March 28th, Dr. Reeves says the panic attacks are getting worse. Prescribed new medication, as if pills can cure loneliness this profound. That's private property. I spun around. Marcus Chen stood in the doorway, still in his suit despite the hour. His face was unreadable, not angry, just tired. The kind of tired that lives in your bones. I'm sorry, I stammered, closing the journal. I was just reading my diary like a common thief. I wasn't stealing, being poor doesn't give you the right to invade my privacy. His voice was flat, corporate, the voice of a man who'd fired 1,000 people without flinching. I set the journal on the counter, hands trembling. You're right. I'm sorry. It won't happen again. I moved toward the door. He didn't move. We were close enough that I could smell his cologne, something that probably cost $800 an ounce. What's your name? Sarah Mitchell. Well, Sarah Mitchell, you're fired. The words hit like a fist. I felt my legs go weak. $12 an hour was all that stood between me and complete financial collapse. The debt collectors were already calling twice a day. I was 3 months behind on rent. Please, I said, and I hated how small my voice sounded. I need this job. My mom just died, and the medical bills. I don't care about your medical bills. I care that you violated my trust. Something snapped inside me. Maybe it was grief. Maybe exhaustion. Maybe I just didn't have anything left to lose. You want to talk about violation? I said louder now. You own 17 buildings. You have a jet. You just donated $2 million to charity and felt nothing. And I'm scrubbing your toilets at 3 a.m. because I can't afford to bury my mother properly. So forgive me if I don't weep for your violated trust, Mr. Chen. The silence that followed felt like falling. Then something impossible happened. He smiled. Not a big smile. Barely there, really, but real. You're not fired, he said quietly, but you are reassigned. My executive assistant quit yesterday. The position pays $75,000 a year plus benefits. You'll work directly with me, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., managing my schedule, screening calls, handling correspondence. You'll see everything about my life, the real parts, not just the public image. And you'll sign an NDA so comprehensive it'll make your head spin. I stared at him. Why? Because you're the first person in 5 years who's told me the truth. Even if you had to violate my privacy to find the courage. He pulled out his phone. What's your number? The job was exactly as brutal as he'd promised. Marcus Chen wasn't just wealthy. He was weaponized efficiency. He started every day at 5:30 a.m. with a 4-mile run. Never missed it. Breakfast was always the same. Egg whites, steel-cut oats, black coffee. Meetings from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., sometimes later. Dinner was usually eaten at his desk. $200 meals from restaurants I couldn't pronounce, barely touched. But what surprised me wasn't the schedule. It was the loneliness. His office phone rang constantly, but his personal phone almost never. The only regular calls were from his sister in California, once a week, always brief, always tense. His father had been Charles Chen, a real estate magnate who'd built an empire and died of a heart attack at 54, leaving Marcus an inheritance and impossible expectations. He used to say I was too soft, Marcus told me once, late on a Tuesday, when we were both exhausted. Too emotional. He said business was war, and I was bringing flowers to a gunfight. Were you? I asked. No, I was bringing humanity. Turns out, that's even less welcome. I learned things about wealth that poverty had hidden from me. I learned that having money doesn't mean you're happy. It just means you're unhappy in penthouses instead of apartments. I learned that powerful men cry, but only in private. I learned that loneliness doesn't care about your bank balance. Marcus had no real friends, only business associates, people who wanted things, investment opportunities, donations, connections. Do you ever wonder, he asked me one night, the Houston skyline glittering below us, if anyone would care about you if you lost it all, the money, the power, the name? Every day, I said honestly. Except I don't have to wonder. I already know the answer. He looked at me then. Really looked like he was seeing me for the first time. I envy you that certainty, he said. Things changed in week 7. We were at a business dinner at Papa's Brothers Steakhouse. Marcus, myself, and 3 potential investors in a new commercial development. The dinner alone cost $3,200. The wine was older than I was. Everything was going smoothly until dessert arrived. Marcus took one bite of the chocolate soufflé, and his face went pale. He grabbed his throat, tried to speak, couldn't. Marcus, I said, standing. He collapsed. The restaurant erupted in chaos. Someone screamed for an ambulance. One of the investors, a surgeon, thank God, checked his airway. Anaphylactic shock, he said. Does he have an EpiPen? I dove for Marcus's suit jacket, hanging on his chair. Found the pen in the inside pocket. The surgeon administered it. Color returned to Marcus's face. His breathing normalized. The ambulance arrived 7 minutes later. At the hospital, we learned he had a severe shellfish allergy. Something about cross-contamination in the kitchen, shrimp oil in the pan they'd used. A mistake that could have killed him. "You saved my life," he said when we were finally alone in his private room at 2 a.m. "I just grabbed the pen. Dr. Richardson saved you. You knew where to look. You were thinking clearly while I was dying." He was quiet for a long moment. "Sarah, I need to ask you something. And I need you to be honest. Okay. If I died tonight, would you have felt sad? Or would you have felt relieved that you could find a better job?" The question stunned me. "Sad," I said immediately. "Marcus, you're not just my boss. You're my friend. Maybe my only friend." His eyes glistened. "That makes one of us." 3 weeks later, he called me into his office with an unusual request. "I'm changing my will," he said. "I'm leaving you $5 million. I nearly fell out of my chair. "What? No, Marcus, I can't. It's already done. I had my lawyers draft it this morning. $5 million plus a trust that handles your mother's medical debt. All of it. Every penny." Tears sprang to my eyes. $147,000. You'd pay off $147,000. "I'd pay off $147 million if you needed it. Sarah, you're the only person in my life who gives a damn about me beyond my bank balance. Let me give you something in return." "You already did. This job changed everything." "Then let me change it again. Please." I wiped my eyes. "Okay, thank you. I don't know what to say. Say you'll come to dinner with me, not a business dinner, a real one, just us." My heart stopped. "Marcus, I know it's inappropriate. I know I'm your boss. But Sarah, I haven't felt this alive in years. You make me remember what it's like to be human instead of a corporation in a suit." "I feel the same way," I whispered. We started dating quietly. No public appearances. His lawyers advised against it, something about professional boundaries and liability. But in private, away from the office, he was different, lighter. We'd order pizza instead of Michelin-star cuisine, watch terrible movies, talk about everything and nothing. For 3 months, I was happier than I'd ever been. Then his sister came to visit. Victoria Chen was everything Marcus wasn't. Cold, calculating, suspicious. She'd been cut out of their father's will after a falling out years before, received only $10 million compared to Marcus's billions. The resentment radiated off her like heat. She cornered me in Marcus's office while he was in a meeting. "You're sleeping with my brother," she said. "Not a question. That's personal. Everything about Marcus is my business. How much are you taking him for?" "Excuse me? Don't play innocent. I've seen your background, poverty, debt, dead mother. You're a walking sob story, and my brother has a savior complex the size of Texas. How much is he paying you to pretend to love him?" Rage flooded through me. "I'm not pretending anything." "Really? Then explain why he's leaving you $5 million in his will. Money you'd only get if he died. Funny how you're the one who saved him at that restaurant. Funny how you're always around when things go wrong." "Get out," I said, voice shaking. "You get out. Before I prove what you really are." She left, but the poison stayed. Seeds of doubt planted perfectly. That night Marcus could tell something was wrong. "Victoria talked to you," he said. "She thinks I'm using you for money. She thinks everyone is using me for money. It's why she has no friends either." He took my hands. "Sarah, I don't care what she thinks. I care what you think." "I think I love you," I said, "and I think that terrifies me." "Why?" "Because you're Marcus Chen, worth billions, and I'm just the woman who makes me want to wake up in the morning, the woman who reads my journal and calls me out on my bullshit, the woman who sees me, not my bank account." He kissed me, and for a moment I believed him. The elevator incident happened on a Thursday. We were leaving a late meeting, heading to the parking garage. Just the two of us in his private elevator. The one that required a key, the one that went straight from the 58th floor to P3 without stopping. Marcus was telling me about a new development project when his breathing changed, became labored. He grabbed his chest. "Marcus?" He couldn't speak. His face went red, then white. He collapsed against the elevator wall, sliding down, his hand fumbling in his jacket pocket. The EpiPen. He was having another anaphylactic reaction. But this time, we weren't in a restaurant surrounded by people. We were alone in a sealed metal box, descending slowly through the building. I grabbed the pen from his pocket. His eyes met mine, desperate, terrified, pleading. And Victoria's words echoed in my head. Money you'd only get if he died. Time seemed to freeze. I could use the pen, save him. Continue being Sarah Mitchell, grateful employee, girlfriend of a billionaire, woman who'd never have to worry about money again. Or I could wait, 60 seconds, maybe less, and inherit $5 million, pay off my debt, start over, be free. The elevator continued its descent. 52nd floor. First 50th. Marcus's hand reached toward me, trembling. "Please," he whispered, and I thought about my mother. Dying in a hospital room that smelled like disinfectant and despair, holding my hand, telling me she was sorry she couldn't leave me anything. I thought about every condescending look from wealthy patients who treated nurses like servants, every debt collector who called me worthless, every time I'd felt invisible. I looked at Marcus Chen, vulnerable, dying, human, and I realized something. Victoria was right. I could let him die, collect the money. No one would ever know. But I would know. "I need you to do something first," I said, my voice strange in my own ears. His eyes widened with confusion, then fear. "I need you to understand," I continued, tears streaming down my face, "that I'm not saving you for the money. I'm not saving you because you're rich or powerful or because of anything you can give me." I jammed the EpiPen into his thigh, depressing the trigger. "I'm saving you because you're Marcus, and you're my friend, and love isn't a transaction." The medication worked. His breathing stabilized. Color returned. By the time we reached the parking garage, he was conscious, shaking but alive. The ambulance arrived. They took him to Texas Medical Center. Tests revealed someone had contaminated his afternoon coffee with shellfish extract, specifically shrimp oil. Deliberate, calculated, attempted murder. The investigation took 3 days. They arrested Victoria Chen on Friday morning. She'd bribed a catering staff member to poison Marcus's coffee, banking on his shellfish allergy. Her plan was perfect except for one thing: me. The cleaning girl who'd been promoted, who'd learned where he kept his EpiPen, who'd been there when it mattered. In her confession, she said she'd counted on me letting him die. She'd assumed my poverty would make me greedy. That's what wealth had taught her about poor people, that we were all just desperate, grasping, waiting for our chance to take what wasn't ours. She was wrong. Marcus's lawyers wanted him to prosecute me too, for what I'd said in the elevator before administering the medication. Emotional extortion, they called it, making demands of a dying man. But Marcus refused. She wasn't making demands, he told them. She was teaching me something I'd forgotten, that love has to be freely given, not purchased, that the most valuable things in life can't be inherited or invested in or acquired. They can only be earned through being human. He fired every lawyer who disagreed. The media had a field day. Billionaire almost murdered by jealous sister. Saved by former cleaning lady turned girlfriend. The class dynamics were too perfect to resist. We broke up 2 weeks after Victoria's arrest. "I love you," Marcus said, "but I need to figure out who I am without the money defining every relationship. And you need to know you're valued for who you are, not who you're dating." I already know that, I said. Maybe. But I need to know it too. He kept the $5 million in his will, but created something bigger, the Sarah Mitchell Foundation. $20 million dedicated to eliminating medical debt for families below the poverty line. Every year, it helps 200 families avoid the nightmare I'd lived through. I still work for Chen Technologies, but not as his assistant anymore. I run the foundation, $95,000 a year, an apartment that doesn't leak, a life that's mine. Marcus and I have dinner once a month. Sometimes we talk about business, sometimes about his therapy, how he's learning to separate his worth from his wealth. Sometimes we just sit in comfortable silence, two people who found humanity in an elevator between floors. Last month he started dating someone new, a teacher from Dallas. She doesn't know anything about commercial real estate, doesn't care about his money, and gives him hell when he works too late. I like her. Victoria is serving 8 years for attempted murder. Marcus visits her sometimes, says she needs family even if she tried to kill him. Says forgiveness isn't about what people deserve. It's about refusing to let hate define you. I paid off my mother's medical debt first thing. Bought her a proper headstone. It reads, "She taught me that dignity costs nothing and is worth everything." People ask me sometimes if I regret not letting Marcus die. If I think about that $5 million I could have inherited early. If poverty makes you fantasize about easy money. The answer is complicated. Because yes, there was a moment, maybe 5 seconds, where I considered it, where I calculated what his death would mean for my life. And I'm not proud of that, but I'm not ashamed either. Being poor doesn't make you noble. It makes you desperate. It makes you think in terms of survival instead of morality. It forces you to weigh impossible choices on scales that weren't meant to measure human lives. But here's what I learned in that elevator, watching a billionaire die in a $4,000 suit. Wealth is just zeros in a bank account. It can buy comfort, security, even power. But it can't buy the thing that makes us human. The choice to do right when doing wrong would be easier. The choice to save someone even when letting them die would save you. My mother died in debt, but she died with her dignity intact. She taught me that some things matter more than money. And in that elevator, dropping through the floors of a building I used to clean, holding an EpiPen and a dying man's life in my hands, I finally understood what she meant. You can inherit wealth, but character, that's something you have to earn yourself. Marcus Chen is worth $3.4 billion now. The company grew, the investments paid off. He still works too hard, still struggles with his father's ghost, still calls me when the panic attacks get bad. But he's learning. We both are. That money can't buy meaning. That poverty doesn't define worth. That the richest moment of my life wasn't when I got a raise or paid off debt or moved into a nice apartment. It was when I chose love over survival, humanity over opportunity. When I saved a man, not for what he could give me, but for who he was. And that's worth more than any inheritance, even the ones measured in billions.